Well, as many of you know, a federal court has ruled it was illegal to send U.S. immigrants to a prison in San Salvador earlier this year, and using the Alien Enemies Act to do so. Now, those immigrants are still in prison after being sent there without due process. To discuss this latest ruling and what it will mean for those prisoners and other immigrants going forward, we now welcome longtime immigration attorney and founder of the immigration law firm USA for All, Renata Castro, back here on the Live Zone. Ms. Castro, always good to see you. Welcome back to the show.
Great to be here.
All right, let's jump into this. In a nutshell, what does this ruling mean?
This ruling means that a United States court has determined that the United States government, and the reason why I say government is because the federal government has the exclusive right to deport individuals, did not allow them the opportunity to have due process. And for those that don't understand due process is the concept that everyone is innocent until proven guilty, but in this case applied to an immigration case. An individual can be deported as long as they have the opportunity and a fair access to trial, which in this case did not happen. And in my legal analysis, the judge is correct in saying that the United States government now has to allow these individuals to pursue a habeas, which is the opportunity to respond to their case in freedom as they fight the accusations made by the United States government.
I got to tell you, Renata, this is just a lot of back and forth. We have seen this top of mind for so many Americans and, well, actually played out in the court system for quite some time now. This latest ruling, does it change anything?
I believe that this really positions the United States judiciary as impartial. It's important that the public understand that this is not a war on a political proposition. This is actually a preservation of what the United States separation of powers, which is what makes us a democracy, really is. No one is or should be above the law, and everyone should have access to the protections afforded by the law, meaning you have a right to fair trial, and you, even if you are an undocumented alien in the United States, you should be availed of those protections, because at the end of the day, if you can be guilty of a crime, you should be afforded the opportunity to defend yourself of that accusation.
We have seen this played out in movies, and that is when a judge makes a ruling, perhaps the language he or she uses. In this case, we know the language happened to be blunt while issuing the ruling. What say you about that?
I think that the courts are trying to, well, I shouldn't say trying. The courts are doing a great job of not making this a political positioning, because then you show bias, and that's not the role of a judge. Judges are here to interpret the law as the legislative arm of the government meant it to be. So they look at the plain letter of the law, they look at jurisprudence, so previous cases that were decided, and also they look at congressional notes. What did the House and the Senate mean or intend when they passed these laws, which should represent the will of the people? So these judges are really giving the Trump administration, and I should say, any other government that tries to exceed itself beyond their authority, that, wait a minute, you have a power, but it's not unlimited power, and the courts are here to protect the interests of the people in the United States.
All right, I've said this time and time again on this show, and that is, wouldn't it be nice if we all had a crystal ball? Well, we don't. And so with that, I will just have to ask your opinion, and that is, what do you think is going to happen next, legally?
Listen, I don't even think that a John Grisham novel would have had so many twists and turns when it comes to immigration law. It really is the subject du jour, because the federal government is expanding its reach and testing the waters in which will be resulting in violation of due process, not only for immigrants, but for U.S. citizens alike. I think that the American courts, and I believe that the American courts will continue to make decisions, sometimes favorable to immigrants, sometimes not, as the Supreme Court made a decision a couple of days ago, saying that the federal government had the right to eliminate TPS, which it does, and overall preserving the letter of the law, preserving rights. And I think it'll be a nail biter. We will have a lot of cases in front of the Supreme Court that are related to immigration law during the time Trump spends in this administration.
You made mention of a novel. In this case, I'm going to make mention of a song, and that is Boyz II Men, End of the Road. I'm saying all that to say, will we get to the end of the road? Where does all this end?
Well, I hope that there's no end of the road. I hope the road just gets wider and happier. I believe as a lawyer that it is essential that lawyers and journalists, people who fight for a position, continue to have the ability to do what's right. And sometimes what's right's not what we agree on, but the United States certainly should see at the end of the road the city on the hill where individual liberties are preserved without being a detriment, where freedom of speech and thought and democracy are celebrated at the end of it all.
Well said. Yet again, we have been speaking with immigration attorney and founder of immigration law firm USA for All, Renata Castro, right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you. Thank you so much for your time.
Great to see you.
All right, guys.